Hey guys, this will be the video for version 2 of the practice test. So if you're not sure if you have version 1 or version 2, you need to look up here and you see that little bitty star right there in the corner of the word test. If your test or practice test does not have that, you need to exit this video and go watch the other one because that means you have version 1. So this is for version 2. And you should see that little asterisk after the word test. So your test will be next week, either on Monday or Tuesday. You know which questions you got wrong based on your practice test, so you should only watch the video for the questions that you don't understand. Fast forward, rewind, pause, whatever. You do not have to sit through this entire video if you did not get all 25 questions wrong. Only focus on the ones that you don't know how to do. So let's get started. Number 1 and number 2 are similar in that we are solving only for one variable. So in number 1, I'm solving for b. So I'm going to circle this whole thing because that's what has my variable. I'm going to draw a line down my equal sign, and I'm going to do backwards order of operations. I'm going to either subtract or add first. Well, I see this plus 5. Well, the opposite of plus 5 is subtraction or minus 5. So I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides. That's how I get rid of the 5 on the right-hand side. I have b over 2 equals 15 minus 5 is 10. Now, I have a fraction. Fractions are division. So now I'm here. I'm going to either divide or multiply to get this b by itself. Well, this is already division, so I can't divide. The opposite of division is multiplication. So on the right-hand side, I have b divided by 2. Well, the opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. This 2 cancels out my denominator of 2. That's how I get b by itself. 2 times 10 is 20, so the answer is D. Number 2. I have 8 times 6n minus 3 equals negative 264. I have to distribute in this one first because I have parentheses, and parentheses always mean to distribute. So on the right-hand side, this negative 264 is going to stay the same because nothing can happen. I'm going to distribute this 8 to the two numbers that are inside my parentheses, which are 6 and negative 3. When I distribute, I'm multiplying. 8 times 6 is 48. Don't forget the variable. And then 8 times negative 3 is negative 24, and that's going to equal negative 264 on the right because I haven't done anything. I don't have any like terms to combine. So now I start my backwards order of operations. I'm going to subtract or add first. This is what has the variable I'm solving for. I'm solving for n. So I'm going to leave this to the end. I need to get rid of this minus 24. Well, the opposite of minus 24 is plus 24. Negative 24 plus 24 cancels out. So I have 48n equals negative 264 plus 24. So when you are doing these, you need to make sure that you are paying attention to your negatives. Negative 264 plus 24 is negative 240. All right, I don't have anything else that I can add or subtract here, but I have 48 and n. Those are being multiplied, so the opposite of multiplication is division. And I'm going to divide by the thing that I need to get rid of. I need to get rid of 48 to get n by itself. So I divide both sides by 48. Negative 240 divided by 48 means n equals negative 5. So the answer is D. All right, 3 and 4 are similar, but these are still a little different. My answer is not going to be a number. So if you look at all of the answer choices, the answer is not a single number because in both of these I have two different variables or multiple variables. So if I look at number 3, I'm solving for a. So I'm going to circle the part of my equation that has the variable a, and that's what I'm going to deal with at the very end. So I see this minus 12d. I'm still doing backwards order of operations. So I'm going to add 12d on both sides. 4 over 3a is the only thing I have left on the left side. 8 and 12d are not 20d. Those cannot be added. 8 is that does not have the variable d. So I just put those next to each other. 8 plus 12d. Now I have a fraction. A fraction is division. So the opposite of division is multiplication. I have 4 divided by 3. Well, I want to get rid of the denominator so that I no longer have a fraction. So I need to multiply both sides by 3 because that's the only way that I'm going to be able to cancel out that 3 to no longer have a fraction. So I'm going to multiply this times 3. Well, I'm going to distribute. I can't really write it in the front. So 3 times 8, or 8 times 3, is 24. 3 times 12 is 36. Don't forget your d. On the left-hand side, all I have is 4a because I got rid of the 3. Now, I still don't have a by itself. I have to do one last thing here. I have to get rid of that 4, just like we did in number 2. I divide everything by 4. I divide by the thing I want to get rid of. So that's how I get a by itself. So a equals 24 divided by 4 is 6, plus 36 divided by 4 is 9. Don't forget the d. So my answer is not written exactly the way the correct answer is shown. The correct answer is a. The only difference is they have 6 at the end and 9d at the front. But this is the same answer. All they did was they just flipped them. So don't get confused with that. Number 4, we are solving for h. That's what I'm solving for. So everything on this side that is not h, I need to get rid of. I don't have any parentheses that tell me to distribute, but I do see a fraction. This is 1 divided by 3. The opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying by 3. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. This 3 cancels out this 3. This 3 just gets put next to the v because that's really all that can happen. I still have pi r squared h. I'm solving only for h, so I need to get rid of pi and r squared. Pi, r squared, and h are being multiplied, so the opposite of multiplication is division. I divide by everything that I want to get rid of. You can divide by more than one thing. Oops, not 3. Pi r squared. So this pi cancels out that pi. This r squared cancels out that r squared. So now all I have is h equals. These can't actually be divided because none of them are like terms. So all I end up with is 3v over pi r squared. And that's the answer. So my answer is B. All right, moving on. Those were all solving. Now we're getting into slopes and points. So number 5 says identify the slope from the equation of the line. This is in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. When we have y equals mx plus b, my slope is always in front of x, which is the variable m. So all I do is look in front of x, and I see -3, so my answer is C. Now, in number 6, this one is in point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So it looks a little bit different than this, but I still see the same m that represents slope. This time the m is in front of the parentheses. So all I do is look in front of the parentheses, and I see 3 over 2, so my answer is A. Those don't really take a lot of work. You just have to know where you're looking. Number 7, identify the point from the equation of the line. So the point, so this is also in slope, point slope form. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Your point is going to be x1, comma, y1. But you have to be careful. When you remove the numbers from the equation, they become the opposite. So the sign changes. So I'm going to look at the two things that represent my ordered pair. So I'm going to look in those two spots. Well, I see a 4 and I see a 6. This is my y value because it's next to the y. In the equation, it looks like -4. So when I write it as the ordered pair, it's going to be +4. This is my x value. When I look inside the equation, it looks like a +6. So when I write it as the ordered pair, the sign is going to change and it is -6. When you plug them into the equation, they become the opposite. So if x is -6, when I plug it in, it becomes +6. Because I have x minus -6, two negatives become a positive. This 4 just gets replaced right there where the y is, so it looks like it turns from a positive to a negative. So my ordered pair is -6, +4. So my answer is B. Number 8, identify the slope from the equation. This is in standard form, ax plus by equals c. I don't see an m anywhere in there. Here I had an m that represented slope. Here I also had an m that represented slope. Here there's no m. So do not look in front of x and tell me that the slope is 3. That's an answer choice, but we put that there on purpose. The answer is not 3. I have to change this to look like this so that I can look in front of x to find the slope. So my point is I need to get y by itself. That's really what you're trying to do. So I have 3x minus 4y equals 12. The first thing I need to do is move this 3x over to the other side because I need to have y on the opposite side of x. Right now they're on the same side. So that is going to cancel that out. I have -4y equals 12 minus 3x. Y is not by itself yet. I need to divide everything by -4. That cancels that out. So then I have y equals 12 divided by -4 is -3. -3 divided by -4 is +3/4. Don't forget the x. Now that I have y by itself, all I do is look in front of x to find my slope. The slope is 3/4. So don't tell me the slope is 3 just because you looked in front of x. That variable in front of x is not m. It is a. All right, next page. So these are all about writing equations. When you're given specific information, usually a point and a slope or 2 points. So you need to write an equation in slope-intercept form. Well, if you don't know what slope-intercept form looks like, you're going to be in trouble. Slope-intercept form, everybody should know because this is what we use the most. Y equals mx plus b. Given a slope of 2 and a point of -4, 1. So first I'm going to write out everything that I already have. My slope is 2, so that's m. My point x is -4 and y is 1. Well, just by knowing that the slope is +2, I can eliminate 2 answer choices. I can eliminate C and D because both of those have a negative slope. So now I need to figure out, is my y-intercept +9 or -9? The way you find that out is you take these 3 numbers and you plug them into the correct spots in slope-intercept form. So instead of having y equals, I'm going to write 1 equals. Instead of m, I'm going to write 2. Instead of x, I'm going to write -4. Now, if you just put it like this, it looks like 2 minus 4. Here, m and x are being multiplied. We don't show multiplication because when 2 variables are next to each other, it's just understood that it's multiplication. So when you plug in that x value, you need to make sure you put parentheses. Plus b. Parentheses mean to multiply. So the only thing that I can really do here, the 1's going to stay the same. 2 times -4 is -8 plus b. I want to get b by itself, so I add 8 on both sides. -8 plus 8 cancels out. I get b by itself. 1 plus 8 is 9. So my b has to be a +9. Well, that means my correct answer is A. So most of these are going to be done this same way. plug it into point-slope form or slope-intercept form. I think slope-intercept form is a little bit faster, but if you like to use point-slope form, that's fine too. Number 10, write the equation of a line in point-slope form given a slope of -2 and a point of 4, -2. So point-slope form, you should have a formula chart the day of the test as well. Or you can look at the answer choices and they're all written the same way. So that should kind of give you an idea of what your answer should look like. Point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so I'm going to write out all my information first. I know my slope is -2, so that means m equals -2. I know my x1 is 4, and I know my y1 is -2, and I just got that information from here. Well, if I just plug these in, I'm going to replace these three things, y1, m, and x1. Everything else is going to stay the same. Well, just by looking at and knowing that my slope is -2, and I know m goes in front of the parentheses, I can already eliminate c and d because these have a slope of +2, and my slope needs to be -2. So, y minus, I'm going to leave that blank so I can plug in the y1, equals blank so I can plug in m, x minus blank to plug in x1. So y1 is -2. This minus sign is not the negative from here. I have to replace this spot with -2. I replace this spot with -2, and I replace this spot with 4. Now, the only thing that I can do to make this equation better is turn these two negatives into a positive. Remember on the other side, I said the ordered pair, when you plug it into the equation, it looks the opposite. So this x is positive. When I plug it in, it becomes -4. This y is -2. When I plug it in, becomes +2. So you have to be very careful because this one is easy to get confused on. So y plus 2 equals a -2 times x. I need to have -4. So my correct answer is A. Number 11, write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b, given 2 points. So this time I have 2 points. Well, I need an m, I need an x, and I need a y to be able to solve for b. Well, the only way to find m, or slope, with 2 points, I think the easiest way to do that is with the table. If you want to use the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, you can. But you guys make more mistakes when you do that. So if you make a table, most of you do better with that. To get from -1 to 7 is +8. To get from 2 to 6 is +4. It's y over x, so I'm going to have 8 over 4, which is then just 2. Not 2 over 1, just 2. So my m is 2. Well, I know m goes in front of x, so automatically I can eliminate a and b because these have a -2 slope. So now I need to figure out, is my y-intercept +5 or -5, because that's the only difference between c and d. You can pick either of the 2 points. If you do the math correctly, you should get the right answer. I like to pick the points that are easier to work with. In this case, I think 6, 7 is easier to work with because both of those numbers are negative. Both of those numbers are not negative. They're positive. If you use 2, -1, you can still get the same answer. But you guys make more mistakes with those negatives. So I pick the positive number. So once you pick your point, you're going to plug in y, m, and x to solve for b like we did in number 9. So instead of y, I'm going to write 7 equals, instead of m, I'm going to write 2. Instead of x, I'm going to write 6, but I need to make sure I use parentheses, and then plus b. Parentheses tell me to multiply or distribute. So 7 is going to stay the same. 2 times 6 is 12 plus b. I want to get b by itself, so I need to move this 12 over to the other side. This 12 is positive, so I have to do that by subtracting. 7 minus 12. If you need to use your calculator for that, please do it. 7 minus 12 is negative 5. So if I replace my m and my b, here I would write 2, because m is 2. And then for plus b, I would have negative 5. So my equation is y equals 2x minus 5. So the answer is D. Number 12, write the equation of a line in point-slope form given 2 points. So this is a little bit more work than number 10. So we're writing it the same format, but this time I don't have the slope. I need to find it first. So I'm going to find my slope first. I'm going to use a table. Negative 2, 5, 3, negative 5. So to get from 5 to negative 5, that is minus 10. If you don't know how to do this, you do this number minus this number. The second number minus the first number. So if I do negative 5 minus 5, that's how I get negative 10. So how do I get from negative 2 to 3? 3 minus negative 2 means it's positive 5. Well, if I try that, negative 2 plus 5, it equals 3. So the second number minus the first number, that's how you find the difference. So same thing over here. If I wanted to get from, how do I get from negative 1 to 7? Well, 7 minus negative 1 equals 8. Okay, so back to number 12. So I have minus 10 on the right, plus 5 on the left. I always start on the right-hand side because that's the number that goes on top. It's y over x. So negative 10 over 5 is negative 2. So I know my m is negative 2. Well, automatically, I should be able to eliminate 2 answer choices. Which ones are they? If you crossed out C and D, you are correct, because these both have an m, or slope, of positive 2. And my slope is negative 2. So now that I have my slope, I'm going to pick one of these points. It doesn't really matter here. One is not better than the other because they both have one positive and one negative. So I'm just going to pick, or actually if you look at the answer choices, we wrote them based off that point because none of them have a 3. So my x1 is negative 2 and my y1 is 5. So remember, when I plug these points into the equation, they're going to switch. So my x is going to change to positive 2 and the y is going to change to negative 5. So y minus y1 is 5 equals m, which is 2, times x minus x1. So notice I wrote in that negative 2. That minus sign does not take the place of that negative sign. The only thing I can do to make this equation better is turn these 2 negatives into a positive. So remember, the x was negative in the ordered pair. When I plug it in, it becomes positive. The y was positive. When I plug it in, it becomes negative. So if I'm down to a and b, the difference is in the parentheses. I need to have plus 2. So the answer is B. 13, we're about halfway done if you're watching the whole video. Write the equation of a line that's represented in the table. So I need to find the slope, pick a point, write the equation. So how do I get from 6 to 0? Minus 6. From 0 to negative 6? Minus 6. From negative 6 to negative 12? Minus 6. So I'm going to go ahead and put that at the top because that's going to be my numerator. From negative 5 to negative 2. When there's negatives, you guys struggle. It is not always a positive. a negative or minus. Negative 2 minus negative 5. Remember the second number minus the first number. That gives me a positive 3. Well, if I try negative 5 plus 3, that equals negative 2. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. 1 plus 3, hopefully you don't need a calculator for that. But yes, it is 4. So every time I'm adding 3 on this side. So I have positive 3. Negative 6. divided by positive 3 is negative 2. Not negative 2 over 1, just negative 2. And also don't leave it as negative 6 over 3. You always, 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 always reduce. Well, just by knowing what my slope is, I can eliminate D because this slope is positive 2. And I can eliminate A because I know that I need to reduce. So I'm down to 2 answers. So now I need to figure out what my y-intercept is. I'm going to pick a point and solve for B. So I'm going to pick this point because that's just the point I picked. So M is 2, X is negative 2, and Y is 0. So I'm going to plug everything into Y equals MX plus B. Well, my Y is 0, my M is negative 2, my X is negative 2 plus B. Parentheses tell me to multiply. I'm going to multiply negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4 plus B. I want to get B by itself, so I need to subtract this 4 from both sides. B equals negative 4. So the one that has the correct y-intercept is B. Number 14. So many of you got this wrong on the level up because I don't know what you did. When you have a graph, to find the slope, you do rise over run. I'm going to zoom in on this one to see if I can get it to look a little bit better. For you guys, I know the lines are pretty light, but hopefully you can see them a little bit better on your paper. So I need to find the slope first. To find the slope, I'm going to do rise over run. Okay, so I'm going to draw my triangle. I need to get from here to here, and I can only move in straight lines. So I'm going to move up 1, 2, 3. And then I'm moving sideways or to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, rise is up or down. Well, how many spaces did I move this way? I moved up 3, so that's positive 3. Run is sideways. Well, I moved this way 6. So 3 over 6 is 1 over 2. So that's my slope. So I can already eliminate 2 answer choices, B and C, because these have the wrong slope. Now, the difference between A and D is the y-intercept. This one has a negative 6. This one has a negative 3. The y-intercept is on the y-axis. This is the y-axis. This is my y-intercept. This is not positive 3. All of the positive numbers are at the top. To get from the origin to this point, I move down 1, 2, 3. This is negative 3. Don't get confused. This is a positive 3 because I moved up 3. This is for the slope. This point by itself is the y-intercept. And this is negative 3. So the correct answer is D. All right, I'm going to zoom out. Go ahead and turn your page so we can move on to the next set of questions. Okay. This should be good now, hopefully. All right. So, number 15 says, James bought 30 items at the grocery store. He bought some produce and some snack foods. Write the equation that best represents this situation. So remember, this is you either have a point and a slope and a y-intercept, or 2 different variables. Well, here I have 2 different variables because they're talking about 2 different things. They tell me that James bought produce and James bought snack foods. So what 2 variables represent that? We'll say produce represents or is represented by the variable P, and snacks is represented by the variable S. Well, if he bought them together, that means you're adding. So P plus S, because he bought produce and snacks. And what was the total? He bought a total of 30 items. With these word problems, write your equation and then try to find the answer that matches. The answer is A. 16. Which line is the x-axis? The x-axis is horizontal. This is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. So the x-axis is line B. 17. What is the equation of a vertical line that goes through the point 15, -7? This is where you have to use Hoy-Vux. Vertical starts with the letter V. So I'm going to use Vux. That means my equation has to be x equals a number. Well, in the ordered pair, the number that represents the x value is 15. So my equation has to be x equals 15. 18. Which of the following lines are parallel? Parallel lines never intersect. These aren't intersecting here, but if I extended them, eventually they're going to intersect. These are never going to intersect. The correct answer is C. 19. Which of the following correctly describes lines that are perpendicular? Perpendicular lines intersect, but they have to intersect to create a 90-degree angle. Just because two lines intersect doesn't mean they are perpendicular. The only ones that are perpendicular up here are these, because I have a 90-degree angle. These intersect, but they're not 90 degrees, so these aren't perpendicular. Perpendicular lines have to create a 90-degree angle. All right, we're almost done. Which of the following is the correct equation of the line that is parallel to the x-axis and goes through the point 6, -8? So, if you're one of my kids, this will make sense. If you're not, this may not be exactly the way your teacher taught you, but it'll help. So I start with the x-axis. So I'm going to draw what my x-axis looks like. We just answered that question in number 16. When I draw this line, I'm going to label it x because that's my x-axis. Now, I start with that one, but I'm going to write my equation based on the line that I draw next. Because now they said I need to write the equation of a line that is parallel. Well, we just talked about parallel lines up here. We said they are lines that never intersect. So I'm going to draw another line that looks just like that. This line is horizontal. So I only draw this x to remind me that it's the x-axis. I'm writing my equation based off of this line, right? They both look the same in this case, but both of these are horizontal lines. So my equation is going to have to be y equals a number. Well, in the ordered pair, the y value is -8. So the correct answer is D. Okay. Here's another one. Which of the following is the correct equation of the line that is perpendicular to the y-axis? Okay, well, here's my y-axis, because my y-axis is vertical. I want it to be perpendicular, which means they have to intersect. This line is the one that I'm writing the equation from. This line is horizontal, so again, I'm going to use Hoy. Y equals a number. Well, in the ordered pair, the y value is 12. So my answer is D. So you've got to be careful with these, because Hoy-Vux is something easy, but you guys get it confused. 22. Which of the following lines would be parallel to y equals 5x plus 12? Well, parallel lines have the same slope. So what's the slope of the equation that they gave us? If you said 5, good job. You look in front of x. So all I need to do is find which one of these equations has the same slope. Well, that's not the same. That's not the same. That's not the same. But hey, guess what that is? So the correct answer is D. Parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines. I tell my kids flip it and switch it. Perpendicular lines have opposite slopes. Well, the slope is still 5. I say flip and switch. I need to flip the fraction. Well, Miss Flores, 5 isn't in a fraction. I know, so how do we turn it into a fraction? 5 over 1. Well, if I flip that fraction, I'm going to take my numbers and I'm just going to flip them. So the 1 is going to be on top and the 5 is going to be on the bottom. This is positive. So I switch the sign from a positive to a negative. So this is the complete opposite of this. Because the opposite of 5 over 1 is 1 over 5. And the opposite of a positive is a negative. So all I have to do is find which answer choice has the slope of negative 1/5. The correct answer is A. Parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular is opposite. And you make it opposite by flipping and switching. Flip the fraction, switch the sign. All right, we're almost done. Last two problems. These take a little bit of work, but we're going to use the same concepts that we just did in the last two problems. Which of the following lines would be perpendicular to y equals negative 1/2 x minus 3 and goes through the point 6, 4? Well, we just said perpendicular lines have opposite slopes. Well, if my slope is negative 1/2 and I flip that fraction, now I have 2 over 1. And if it goes from a negative to a positive, then that's it. But I don't want to keep it as 2 over 1. I just reduce it to 2. So my m is 2. My slope is 2. Well, automatically I can eliminate b and c because these lines are not perpendicular. They keep the same slope, which means these two lines would be parallel. I have my m. I have my point. X is 6. Y is 4. So I need to find what the y-intercept is, because this one is negative 8 and this one is positive 12. So I'm going to plug everything into slope-intercept form. 4 equals 2 times 6 plus b. Multiply these two. 2 times 6 is 12 plus b. 4 stays the same. Minus 12 minus 12. 4 minus 12 is negative 8. So the correct answer is A. Okay. 25 is the same process. You start with the slope first. Which of the following lines would be parallel? Parallel lines have the same slope. So what's the slope? Negative 4. So my m is going to stay as negative 4. Just by knowing that, in this particular one, there's a mistake. And you really don't have to do any work for this one. I'm going to finish it off to show you the right way to do it. But just by knowing that the slope stays the same, the only one that has the same slope is D. Now D isn't really true because the y-intercept is wrong, but it still kind of works. I'm going to finish this off to show you what the correct answer should be because we made a mistake. My x is 4 and my y is 8. So I'm going to plug everything in just like I did up here. Y equals mx plus b. So y is 8, m is negative 4, x is 4 plus b. Multiply these two. Negative 4 times positive 4 is negative 16 plus b equals 8 plus 16 plus 16. B equals 24. So the correct answer should be y equals negative 4x plus 24. The y-intercept is wrong, but of the answer choices that are there, D is the only one that would work because the slope stays the same. All right, guys, so you just got an explanation of every single problem on this practice test. You need to make sure that you know how to do the ones that you got wrong correctly on Monday or Tuesday so that you can improve your grade. Good luck.